In 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Invest in Yourself, the podcast series. I am, of course, your host with the most, Phil Better, the podcast mogul. And today I am proud to have the host of both Paranormal, the New Normal, and Musical Musings, Jeremy Bryant. Jeremy, how are you doing today?
Everybody butchers that name. Everybody.
It's the
And that's
Triple
my
M,
mate,
man.
that way.
What are you doing to us trying to pronounce that name? What are you doing? Trying to kill us?
Alliteration. Gotta love alliteration. I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Hard day at work, but I get to podcast now, and that's my love. That's my joy. So
Oh, I love hearing that. I love hearing another fellow podcaster. Jeremy, I have a great bio here that you sent in, but I don't really like reading them because I don't give it justice. But please introduce yourself to my audience. Let them know a little bit about you.
well, you all know my name. I'm 34 years old. I just got into podcasting a little bit less than a year ago, and I was invited to start podcasting with a group called Bracket Bastards, and once I started doing that for a few months, they basically told me, like, you need to do your own podcast too. Like, you have a voice for podcasting. You need to be out there. And I'm like, what do I love? Well, I love paranormal. So I started a paranormal show. And then a couple months later, I love music. So I was like, I'm going to start a music show, which became Maniacal Music Musings. And see, after you say it for a couple months, you get used to saying it. But
Yeah, but I've only had a couple days with it. So yeah, it's going to be a little tough on my tongue with this alliteration. But um, so the reason you got into podcasting was just a couple boys were like, hey, we need you on the show. Can you fill in?
Well, it was a group on Facebook called Bracketology, and the man who runs it, Freddie Fisher, he was trying to start a podcast doing the same thing that we do in the group on Facebook, which is vote on different brackets of whether it be TV or movie topics. And it was basically he wanted to do a podcast doing the same thing, but with like 5 people in a bracket. So I responded to his Facebook post about it, and I was one of the first 2 people to join it. So, and we now are pretty popular out there. We just hit over 1,000 plays like a month or 2 ago.
Nice. That's awesome. Um, so with your paranormal show, what is it about the paranormal that you love? Why did you want to start this show on paranormal, being the new normal?
Well, when I was a kid, like in elementary school, I used to work in the library. I used to like not work, but I used to help out in the library at lunchtime because I would eat my lunch fast and be bored.
Mhm.
So, and I would always see this one book on the paranormal, and I always would rent it out, like take it out and read it, like. And it was always Bigfoot, Loch Ness, and all the typical ones they knew about in the '90s that they talked about the most.
Mhm.
And that just started something in me where I always was interested in aliens and cryptids and all that. And then I kind of that died for a long time, like because I got older, I got interested in girls and things like that kind of die usually. But eventually, I found a podcast called Monsters Among Us by Derek Hayes, who and that podcast and a couple others reignited my spark in the paranormal. They made me love it again. They made me want to read and hear everything I can on cryptids. I literally would sit at my job at that point while listening to podcasts, like just reading like cryptid Wikipedia, like every article on it. So paranormal fascinates me because I like things that we can't explain. I like things about history we can't explain too, conspiracies, all that. Like, did we land on the moon or did we not really? And if we did, what did we see that people aren't telling us about? So, I mean, that type of stuff just fascinates me. I mean, I was always very intelligent in school, straight A student. So to really get interested in things, I need to find things that couldn't be explained, like things in school where it would be explained.
No, I
So
love that. I love how you took something you're passionate about and delved into it. I'm interested in some of the guests that you've had because it's an interview based show, correct?
yes, it's an interview-based show. It's all about the guests. It's not about me.
Excellent. So there must have been some really interesting guests or some guests that that just blew your mind in all of this? And is there one that kind of like maybe stands out? Like, I don't want you to pick your favorite, but maybe a moment in that show that kind of like just stands out from your recollection.
Okay, well, actually, I'll give you 2 because the first one I already mentioned, and that was Derek Hayes from Monsters Among Us podcast. I
Mhm.
actually the podcast that reignited my spark in the paranormal, I got him on my show, and
Wow.
it this past August, he was on my show, and the episode released about a month ago at this point, and it's almost my top listened to episode because he has over 4,000 followers on Twitter. He's 12, 13 seasons deep now in his show, and he's made a name for himself in the paranormal world, especially. And he's got a lot of people interested in paranormal because he gives a place for people to tell their stories in their own voice. It's just a call-in show where people call in their experiences. So that was my goal starting this podcast was to get him on, and then the person I didn't expect though was Christopher Susi. He is a paranormal investigator and a filmmaker, play director out of New Orleans area, I believe. And he told me about 3 times in his life where he believes he saw/heard the devil.
Wow.
And you can tell I mean, he's definitely he has a voice for storytelling, but you could tell in his voice that he's telling the truth and just the way he did like the sounds he heard and he described everything perfectly. I literally like sat the whole hour and a half we were talking with my jaw wide open, like, oh my God, like I believe every word this man is saying. Like, there's no way he's lying to me. I'm looking at his eyes. He's not lying to me.
That
Like,
those
just
must have been some incredible episodes, and definitely going to be checking that out. So that's on the paranormal, the new normal. Let's jump over to my maniacal musical musings. I'm getting there. It's the first word that just screws with me. I don't think I'll ever be able to talk about say that word ever. But is there an episode on this, and what is that show? Like, why did you start this show? What is the purpose of this show?
well, I wanted to start a music show for a while because as a juggalo and a underground rap fan and a European symphonic metal fan, I like a lot of music that a lot of people never heard of. So I started the show with someone else who was on Bracket Bastards as well. My ride or die best friend, Chancey Grive, who we never even met in real life yet, but we just have such a connection the first day we met that it was just instant friends for life. And so I started this show and I'm like, dude, you want to do it? And he's like, yeah, of course. So basically what it is it's an album challenge show. The first 3 episodes is just me and Chancey bringing an album to the table, and we everybody you pick a top 5 off the album with any honorable mentions you wanted to bring, and you'd give your review of the album. And after the 3rd episode, we were like, "You know what? We're gonna start bringing guests on every week." And now every week there's 3 albums talked about, and the guest gets to pick an album of their own to bring. And it's fun. It's just fun, and our guests have even, like, commented on it saying, like, "This is an amazing idea for a show because you get to learn about new music you may never even have heard of or thought of."
I love that.
Types of genres of music you never heard of even. So the best episode of that though, that's hard to pick the one I
Is
like
it
doing
maybe not the best? I don't want to say the best because I feel that's a disservice to all the previous episodes you do as a podcast, or maybe one that just stands out that you're like, you know what, this is a fun episode. This is something that brings me like when I think about my podcast, this is one of the things that pops up about my podcast.
well, I've done episodes now with we'd had pop star Gigi Rowe, who has she has a couple songs on Netflix and Amazon Prime shows, and her another TikTok musician that she works with, Clay Baby, they were both on the show a couple weeks ago. And I've also had some underground rappers that I've known for a few years, uh, Casket the Monster and Misty Rain, who they're both juggalos. They both have been Casket's been rapping now for like 10 years at least. He's got a bunch of albums out on Spotify, and just having them on, like, that's the greatest part is I started by bringing most of my friends on, like other podcast friends and just people from other podcasts I've met. I just bring them on. I'm like, "Hey, you wanna come on?" They're like, "Yeah, sure." And it always ends up being a fun show because we make it fun. I mean, we make jokes the whole time about the songs, about what we think the songs mean, and it gets funny and it gets interesting.
I love that. That's a great way of connecting with other friends and fellow musical lovers, because you, like you said, you learn about different music when you talk to people, and you can always have this fun discourse about it. um, I want to know, because you have two shows now and you're a host on another one, or you started on another one, what kind of tips do you have for people managing multiple shows?
Well, actually, I was on 5 constantly at one point. At this point, I'm still on 4 constantly because I'm on another paranormal show called Global Strangeness. It's a
Okay.
discussion show. It's a discussion show with 2 co-hosts. But for if you want to start a podcast, one, it's got to be something you love talking about. You can't just start a podcast and about something you don't know about, or something you don't want to talk about, because it's just gonna fade out really fast. You're not gonna have the conversations. You're not gonna be able to come up with random things to bring up in the middle of it that are related. Like, you need to have those connections. And then, I mean, just basically the second tip is market it. I market all my podcasts and everything I can. I mean, I post my paranormal shows to like 20 Facebook groups because I've been in them for a long time anyway, and they're all paranormal related. So I post in a lot. Marketing is key if you want people to know it exists. Otherwise, people are not going to find your podcast just strolling through Spotify. I mean,
No, no, it's
unless
good luck with that. Spotify doesn't like podcasts all that much, so yeah, promotion is key. um I would like to know, you mentioned a few other podcasts earlier in the episodes that you listen to, but is there one that you suggest people listen to? Someone comes up to you and go, "Hey, Jeremy, I've heard of this thing called podcasts. I know you said you mentioned you host one, but is there a podcast that you think I should listen to get into this world of podcasting? Is there one that you suggest people listen to?"
yeah, there's actually. I mean, I could name like 20, but the one I love the most, that well, actually, okay, the 2 I love the most that I don't do, I've been guest on them since I listened to them before I became a guest, and that's Mass Debaters, Mass Debaters. It sounds bad if you say it fast. And The Sip List. Mass Debaters is a they used to do brackets, but now they just do debates, like I was on one about a month or 2 ago for, best Pixar movie,
Okay.
and, I mean, there's no winners, it's just a debate, and the
Mhm.
SIP List is a top 5 show where each episode is a different category, and everybody has to bring their top 5 to it, like I was on one for top 5 Ewan McGregor movies, so
Okay, I like that. Some film-based podcasts that you can go ahead and check out. Um, Jeremy, at the end of the episode, because we are coming to the end, I'm going to let you promote yourself and let my audience know where they can find you. We always ask a question from the game Spark by Seek Discomfort, an amazing brand that helps people get out of their comfort zone. And the question for your this episode is, what's a goal you accomplished recently?
in podcasting, okay,
Yeah.
well, a goal I accomplished recently was I started getting some sponsors on my paranormal show, which that's something I wanted to do for a long time. And I started using podmatch.com to start getting paid for guests as well. So I found a way to make a little bit of revenue off my podcast. Not, I mean, I'm not making hundreds off it or anything, but I
It's a
mean,
start.
any little bit helps, and it's just more marketing. It's getting your name out there to different people, because every guest you have on is going to market they were on your podcast if they care about themselves. So they're going to market to themselves and share it out themselves. So every guest is 20 more people that can hear your podcast potentially.
There you go. Jeremy, I'm going to jump off the screen here. I'm going to let you tell my audience where they can find your podcast, how they can support you as a content creator so that you can finally get that dream of work, quitting the 9 to 5. So, sir, the floor is yours.
You can find my podcasts, which are Bracket Bastards, Paranormal the New Normal, Maniacal Music Musings, and Global Strangeness. You can find all those on Paranormal the New Normal / Maniacal Music Musings Facebook podcast group on Facebook. Or you can look up me, Jeremy Bryant, and you'll see posts from it, and you can gladly ask to join. I don't turn anybody away. And you could also find me on Twitter and the Gram as @Juggalo Bastard. And you could find me on TikTok as Juggalo Bastard Podcast, where I'm slowly getting all our videos on there. It takes time because TikTok is horrible, 10 minutes at a time. Ugh. And you can find Paranormal the New Normal and Maniacal Music Musings on YouTube as well. I upload all our videos there from both shows. So please check them out. It's even more fun when you get to watch the faces of people when other people are talking. So check them out. And if you have paranormal experiences and you want to be a guest or you want to be a guest in the music one, just shoot me a message. I gladly will accommodate you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jeremy, for being a guest, talking about your two podcasts, your journey in podcasting. I can't thank you enough for being here.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I love to invest in myself, so it's a great topic.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, my audience, you know what to do. In the show notes down below are the links to support this amazing podcaster. Go ahead and click the links, subscribe to their shows, make them better, make Jeremy happier, and if you have any paranormal inquiries, please do reach out. I'll make sure you get connected with Jeremy. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, like Jeremy said, let's always remember to invest in yourself.